Hey everybody, this is Ash from the Rated NA podcast, and you're listening to a special episode with author Patrick Weeks of BioWare fame, and we found each other at the San Diego Comic-Con and had a nice long conversation about Dragon Age and writing and all sorts of fun stuff, so I hope you guys enjoy it. This episode is actually brought to you by Audible.com, and Audible is the premier provider of digital audiobooks. Audible has over 150,000 titles to choose from in every genre, from thrillers, business, romance, comedy, sci-fi, and more. Audible titles play on iPhone, Kindle, Android, and more than 500 devices for listening anytime, anywhere, and you can get a free audiobook download at audibletrial.com/ratedNA. And some of the books we talk about on this episode, including The Palace Job, are available on Audible. And if you get those for free, you actually help out the show. So thank you guys so much and enjoy this chat with Patrick Weeks. All right, so it's Comic-Con 2014, and we are sitting here with friend of the podcast, Patrick Weeks. Patrick Weeks, welcome back.
Happy to be here.
It's been a long time coming. We've been wanting to have you back for a while, but you've been kind of busy.
I've been kind of working on this little art house game called Dragon Age Inquisition.
Which is coming out a little bit later than we were expecting, but that's
Yes.
good. I've been defending how good that is because more time's a good thing.
I think it's absolutely a good thing. I think anyone who is looking at that should see that as a sign that Electronic Arts is supporting us and wants to give us the time to make those tiny little polish edits that, a lot of people might not even notice, but it absolutely makes the game better. And I'm really glad we get that extra time.
Absolutely, absolutely. So obviously we're excited for Inquisition, but you also wrote Masked Empire in the meantime to kind of satiate our appetite a little bit. What was it like when you got the news that you were going to be writing that? Did you clamor for that book? Did you actually go after it? Did they tell you that you're writing this?
No, I applied for it.
Okay.
Yeah, it was an application.
Yeah.
It was nerve-wracking. I was nervous about being the first non-David Gator writer to be handling a Dragon Age book, but fortunately, the entirety of the Dragon Age team was really, really helpful. The people who were working on sections of the game that might take place in Orlais or in Halimsharal were really, really happy to help me and tell me what was going to happen in the game so I could foreshadow it properly. Mary Kirby was awesome. Ramil did the fantastic art. And both...
I really did love that art, by the way.
The cover art.
Really cool.
And Mike Laidlaw and David Gator and Ben Jelena did a fantastic job of, keeping me on the tracks with the lore.
It is a pretty defined universe. It's like something you need to
It's really, really deep. And there are so many things that, as someone who is now writing on the game and, was a dedicated fan of the games before while I was over writing on Mass Effect stuff, I thought, I know the IP really well. I can do this. This is great. Yeah. And, there are so many things that I missed that, Ben and Mike and David, helpfully caught and went, oh, hey, turns out in Dragon Age this. Oh, hey, turns out. I was like, oh, wow, we have a really deep IP. This is great.
Absolutely. I do love how deep the IP is. And, I'm a huge fan of the games, as the listeners know, but there are people out there that are just like much larger fans than myself, and it's amazing how much they know. So it must be kind of intimidating to write for such a big universe. So what we're going to do first, before we dive into a bunch of Dragon Age stuff, and we have a bunch of really great community questions. They made my job really easy. I'm like, do you have any questions for Patrick Weeks? And we got like 50 people sending us questions. I didn't have to do shit for this interview, which is great.
Well, thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Is this your first San Diego Comic-Con?
Yes.
It is. This is your first, this is the granddaddy of them all. So what have you haven't been here for that long yet, because we're recording this for our listeners. This is a Thursday kind of early afternoon interview. So the con really just kind of started. So what are your first impressions of San Diego Comic-Con?
Well, as a Canadian, it's a little hot.
Yeah, it is a little warm.
But more than that, I love the energy. I love... walking through a crowd and there's a TARDIS and, there's a Superman logo and there's like an obscure Marvel character and, there's someone from Image Comics. And I just love, if you've never been, this is a real chance to kind of be among your people. It really is. It really is. And I've been coming for a number of years, and it is a very positive convention as well. Yeah.
I can't tell you the number. I can't really count the number of negative experiences I've had really on one hand. Yeah. It's just a bunch of like-minded people, a lot of like-minded people, like over 100,000 of them in the same place at the same time having fun. So,
yeah, and it's amazing how much it sprawls too. It's not just the convention center; it's like the whole neighborhood turns into Comic-Con neighborhood.
Yeah, it's wild, and it is, and this is kind of a new thing too. I mean, we're in I think, what are we in, the Hyatt now? Mm-hmm. So we're in the Hyatt recording this, and every single big hotel in the Gaslamp district has stuff going on.
Yep.
And we're right outside the Xbox lounge. So, I mean, you could come here without a badge and really just have a good time and run around and see all sorts of fun stuff. So I'm glad you're liking it. We're going to go ahead and talk first of all about your sort of your passion projects, which are Palace Job and the sequel to Palace Job. So I want to talk about those for a little bit.
My night stuff, sure.
Yes. So how was that to write in comparison to your Dragon Age stuff and your Mass Effect stuff?
Well, it's funny because on one hand, I've got a lot more freedom. It's my world. There's no one telling me, oh, that doesn't fit, this doesn't work. But, the flip side of it is I don't have a team backing me up. Mm-hmm. If I don't know how something looks in Halemshral, I go down the hall and I talk to Matt Rhodes or Nick Thornborough, and, they pull up concept art that just, or Ramil, and they blow me away with concept art.
Yeah.
Palace Job, I got to think of my own stuff.
Yeah.
And, sometimes I'm just like, I don't know, this is a little easier when I'm on a team.
Yeah, absolutely.
But... as a passion project, is my own side thing. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Palace Job has been, people have responded positively to it. They say it's a fun read. It's a good time, which is what it's kind of there to be. And I've got a sequel to it coming out in September, and I'm starting up work on the 3rd.
See, we talked about this right before I started recording, and I was asking you how the heck you write so much, because you have the sequel to Palace Job, and then other stuff coming, and then you have Dragon Age Inquisition. And how do you find the time, with having a family and everything, to actually sit down and write? What is your secret to success?
Well, it's everybody has just finite amounts of time, and how you spend them is kind of up to you. So for me, it's tough because I love gaming. I love being a gamer. And what I've tried to kind of mix in is I do some gaming, I don't want to lose the gaming, because if you're a video game designer and you don't play games anymore, then you're out of touch.
Yeah,
so I try to play games while I'm doing my exercise and working out. And then once the kids are asleep, the deal I have is that when I'm in rough draft mode, if I can do an hour and a half, because if I can only do a half hour, I'm just getting started at that point. I haven't found my flow. But if I can do an hour and a half to 2 hours every night after the kids are asleep, I can probably crank out a decent rough draft in 3 or 4 months.
That's awesome. That's really.
And so it's just about making that decision and going yep, I'm going to have no nights free for the next 3.5 to 4 months. Or if I have a night free, I'm consciously making that decision to say all right, I'm going to have a night, a nice night with Karen. We're going to go out, we're going to do that together. But it's just losing out on TV, backing up the recorder.
So it's a bit of a sacrifice, but first, you get a product at the end of it. That
at the end you have something you're happy with.
Cool. Well, let's jump. We have a lot of community questions, and
cool.
Like I said before we started, if there's something that you are not at liberty to discuss, then don't answer it. This one's actually good. This is from Eric Halston on Twitter, and that's at Eric Halston, and he says,
Hi, Eric.
He says, how experience as a tabletop GM informs, helps, or complicates writing for video games?
Oh, that's a very good question.
I like that question.
Yeah. Okay, so as a GM, a storyteller, a DM, whatever system the guy who runs the monsters gives the name for. The good news is, if you're an experienced GM, it can give you tools on how to give players the illusion of choice while still guiding them through the adventure you have in mind. When I was a kid playing D&D, I would just hit my players with a curse, and they would have to go to the dungeon. And they did the dungeon, but they didn't always feel like, this is an awesome power fantasy. I get to do the dungeon. They feel like, wow, Patrick, you turd, you made us go do this, you jerk. So a lot of it is okay, so as you get older, you learn more tricks, and okay, how can I make the players feel like they want to do that dungeon? How can I make it so that the person who wants loot hears about interesting, a cool magical sword in the dungeon. The person who always gets into the story hears that there are clues to an ancient mystery there in the dungeon. And, the person who has, an in-world love interest hears that like someone important to them has been captured and is down there in that dungeon. And now the dungeon is something they want to do for their own reasons, and we're not shoehorning you into it. And coming up with reasons to make the player say, I want to do this, is a really, really valuable skill.
So it's all about manipulation.
Well, yeah, I mean...
pulling strings.
Manipulation, it gets a bad rap.
Yeah.
But if you're a player, it's like, okay, it's like, if I'm paying, whatever the market rate is for Dragon Age Inquisition, depending on where you're listening to this, it could be $60, could be $70 if you're in Australia. God, I feel for you.
Yeah, it's rough there.
If you're paying that much money, you don't want to like pay that much money and then have sucks to be you. You have to do this unpleasant thing. It's like, no, if you're paying that much money, we better tempt you into doing something fun. We better make it like something like, hey, player, you want to do this cool thing, player? It's going to be awesome, player.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, I do want to do that cool thing.
Absolutely. I remember I haven't GM'd in a while or DM'd in a while, and we were playing D&D. My players would always find a way to totally go in the opposite direction that I had planned for and kind of make you create things on the fly. And it was really challenging, but it was also incredibly fun.
Yeah,
so.
that's the one thing where in video games we don't have that much freedom because we can't, there's nobody sitting behind the screen doing things on the fly. That is the biggest limitation.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I still make sure that I do tabletop stuff as well. I'm running a 13th Age. It's a spin-off, or it's a game similar to Dungeons & Dragons, and I'm running a play-by-post 13th Age game, and that's kind of where I can really go a little bit more free and say, like, players, you tell me where we're going next, because...
Yeah, I see you guys on Twitter playing that.
Yeah.
And I get really excited. I'm like, oh, what are they doing now? It sounds so exciting.
It's pretty geeky. It's
cool.
a lot of fun.
No, that's awesome. Dave, who's Akodo Dave on Twitter, he says, what science fiction or fantasy authors do you like to read currently? Do you even have time to read also?
I haven't had as much time as I like. But right now, let's see. I always keep up on my Terry Pratchett. I will never get behind on that. And right now, I don't have a lot of time for dark and grim. I'm pretty much reading light stuff because I kind of need the escapism.
Yeah.
The other person I'm reading a lot of, I'll read anything he puts out, is Jim Butcher's Dresden Files.
Excellent.
Just because I love it's light. It's not. Sometimes it's incredibly dark, but his character always stays witty and stays humorous through it. And so even during the very, very dark times, it still has that level of escapism I need. That level of inherent humanity and fun that keeps things moving along.
Cool. We have MB, who's Carrion Queen on Twitter, and she asks. Pick me is what she said first, so I picked her. She says, is it tough writing characters that aren't your own? For example, you picked up Cole from Dragon Age. You picked up Cole. So is it hard writing characters that you did not have a part in creating?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good question.
Yeah.
It is difficult. Cole was a very important character to David Gator, and I think the key is... first, on David's part, he was really, really awesomely willing to let me make Cole mine. And you can't do it if the original owner isn't comfortable with that.
Absolutely.
And beyond that, just letting him say, like, yeah, this isn't going to be exactly how I would have written it, and that's okay. Because he didn't have the time. He was, doing lead writer stuff and writing a ton of the game himself. And beyond that, it's striking the balance where the character is true to what the people who met Cole in Asunder, are looking for, but also if I just did Asunder Redux, if I just tried to do that again, I would just be doing a bad David Gator impersonation.
Yeah.
And that would be unfair to the players, and it would be unfair to Dave, too, because...
I'm really curious to see what happens with Cole's character in Inquisition because, to be honest, I didn't necessarily love him in Asunder because I didn't even by the time the book was done, I didn't understand much about him. He's such an enigma. He's such a mystery. And you're like, what is this character all about? What is he?
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be really interesting for players to kind of discover his story and discover what he's about. Even if we even do. I mean, he could end up a total mystery. So.
Yeah. And I think part of it is, just making him yours and figuring out what his character arc was and then moving forward from that in a way that feels natural. Mm-hmm. It's kind of actually, in a lot of cases, it was like what I had to do for Jack in Mass 3. Mm-hmm. I didn't write Jack in Mass Effect 2, and so it was a question on Mass Effect of going like, okay, what was her character arc in Mass Effect 2, and how have the events changed her, and how can I make it so it's still recognizable as a character, but I'm not just rehashing it and throwing out her catchphrases. Hi, I'm the same character.
Yeah.
I've had no growth whatsoever. It's like, well,
absolutely loved her in Mass 3, so I'm glad that you changed her up and showed her kind of grew up, and she was a mentor and sort of like this really. I think she changed almost the most between Mass 2 and Mass 3. Absolutely,
she went to a different place. It was good.
Yeah, she was really cool. This is actually a good question. I like this one a lot. It's just a general question, but for our listeners that don't know, which characters specifically are you writing this time for Inquisition?
Oh, okay. So the ones I'm writing that have been announced are I'm working on. So I've Cole, who is David Gator's character from Asunder, is here and will be a follower. Or at least an optional follower. A lot of people who read Asunder...
If you like demons or don't like demons.
Yeah, a lot of people, they read Asunder and they're like, nope.
Yeah.
And if you're that player, if you're like, demon, no.
Yeah.
No, thank you. You are absolutely going to screw me over at some completely bad point. I'm kicking you out. That is totally a valid opinion as a player, and we want to make sure that players can do that.
Yeah.
I'm also writing Solus, who is... he's the mage who is the elven expert on the Fade.
Okay.
So this game is about the Fade in a lot of ways, given that it kind of opened up in a giant hole in the sky. And this gives us... Solus is this character who has explored the Fade a lot. He's closest to like a lucid dreamer, if that makes sense. He goes to sleep and he could explore the Fade without having to use lyrium. It's something he's trained himself to do. And he can give a lot of insight, and I would say if it comes out well, he can shake up a little bit how players think about the Fade and what they how they see the world. And then lastly, the Iron Bull.
Bull. I just watched Iron Bull in action during that demo, and he looks like he's so. How are you not going to have him in your party? Is what I want to ask the listeners. He's incredible.
Fun. He is a fun follower. He was a lot of fun to write. Freddie Prinze Jr. Voiced him and did an amazing job. Just like really threw himself into the character, and I like him because in addition to being, for want of a better term, the bro. If you want someone in your party, it's like, hey, do you want to go kill stuff? Yes. Yes, I do. Let us go do that thing.
Yeah.
Like, that is your guy. But he's also, because he is from a different caste of Kenari Society, or a different aspect of Kenari Society than Sten was in Dragon Age Origins, you get a different look at Kenari Society. He can explain it and, give some of the shades of gray and, can explain how some of it works, because Sten, obviously, as being from the warrior part of society, had a very simplistic view of the Qun. And so you would find yourself asking questions and sort of bouncing off Sten's answers in some way. And I think the Iron Bull's a little bit more complex, and neither one of them is wrong. It's just, the old metaphor about the blind man and the elephant, like everyone kind of looking at a different part. Like Iron Bull has a different part to show, not Sten, not the Arashok.
He's kind of like, from what I've been reading, I don't know if there's any truth to this, but hasn't the Iron Bull, he's kind of like not even directly a part of the Qun anymore, or he's like approaching it from a different perspective.
Yeah, so this has been revealed, so we can talk about
it. Okay, good. I don't want to get anyone in trouble.
So the Kenari spies are called the Ben Hassrith.
Okay.
And spies is a really vague term. Inside Kenari territory, they are either, you can think of them as secret police, or you could think of them as the CIA, or I guess you could think inside Kenari territory, you think of them as the FBI anti-terrorism units.
Okay.
They're people who, the bad way of saying it is they root out dissent, but the good way of saying it is they keep law and order and, stop things from going wrong. And the Iron Bull was one of those.
Okay.
He was in a war-torn area, and he was responsible for keeping order, and he did that every day hunting terrorists and insurgents and fighting bad guys and protecting the innocent. And then kind of one day that sort of broke him. And the Ben Hasserith said, well, you're a really good asset, so we're not just going to,
you don't throw away muscle like that.
Yeah, if you've got, there's still some use in that tool. It's not a good screwdriver, but it's still a pretty good
Absolutely.
hammer. And so they deployed him to Orlais as a mercenary captain and just said, you just kind of go do that, go have fun, but keep submitting reports because you've still got the eyes for it. Mm-hmm. And so that's what he's been doing. And in a lot of ways, he's the character who, in his mind, he's still loyal to the Qun, but I'm honestly not sure how he would do if he went back to the Qun and had to live under it again.
Yeah, it's pretty structured and pretty orderly. He seems like he's kind of like a free, loving kind of guy.
He's been enjoying the meals. He's been having a good time.
Enjoying himself on his own.
Yeah, he's been enjoying the R&R.
Yeah, well, I'm eager to get to know these characters. It's funny because, I obviously a lot of BioWare fans... I'm lucky enough to have them listen to the show, and I watch, what they tweet back and forth, and a lot of people are talking about romances and stuff already.
Yep.
And I'm in the camp that I want to meet these people a little bit before I romance them. So
it's funny because it's not that it's to be very clear, I don't disapprove because it's not my place to disapprove.
Yeah.
But I don't sometimes get the people who are like, I'm totally romancing this person, because there are people like, as someone outside the games, there are people who have definitely gone like, I am totally romancing that person when I play that game. That's going to be awesome. And then I start playing the game and I realize this other character, who in trailers I was just, I don't know, whatever, as like they're the one
very
I'm bonding
likable,
with.
absolutely.
I think people should give it a fair shake, and I think a lot of characters are going to surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think most people play through it more than once, so you can be a little bit of a slut and do whatever you want, right? We have some good ones. This one is from this one's from Stumpy Nat, and I just put this in there because I know, because we love Stumpy Nat. She wants to know if there are Asari in Dragon Age, and it's spelled wrong.
Oh
completely.
Yeah. So Nat. Okay, everyone else stop listening, but Nat, just so you know, after the events of Mass Effect 3, the Asari fled from the Mass Effect world into Dragon Age, Nat, and they're trying to take it over, and to that end, they needed a spy master, and they've kidnapped Leliana.
Oh my gosh. Breaking news.
So there you go. That one's for you, Nat. The Asari have kidnapped Leliana.
There you go.
And, yeah, have fun with that.
I hope other sites don't put that up as fact. It may happen. You never know these days.
Good luck with that, other sites. Enjoy.
Oh, this is actually from, this is just a compliment, and this is from the person that actually won your book the last time you were on.
Oh, cool.
And he says, why are you so awesome? And he says, the Palace job is great, and I was the podcast winner. And that's from Mr. Slick, who's Robert Fremering, way out in the middle of nowhere. So.
Well, thank you very much. That's really awesome to hear. Anytime an author hears that they have actually touched someone or given someone a good time, we spend a lot of hours writing those things, and it's not like a play where you get applause at the end of it. So hearing that someone liked it, that's really awesome. Thank you, man.
Yeah, he's a super nice guy. We got a lot of this one, and this is one of the questions I don't know if you're allowed to answer, but since we got like 10 of these. People are curious if Solus may be a romance option.
I have not gotten clearance to answer that question, and I am so sorry.
No, don't be sorry,
guys. I got leave to spill Iron Bull a couple weeks ago when BioWare was at Gamer X. I have not gotten leave to spill anything
about Solus. But it is cool that people are excited to perhaps experience his tender touch.
Yeah, well, I think he's a really cool character. A little bit like Morden Solus, Elvin Solus is someone who I think has the ability to, if you talk with him, he can kind of shake up the way you think about the universe a little bit.
Yeah.
He is very much not about, here are the mages, here are the Templars, this side's good, this side's bad. And I think, I don't know,
I'm intrigued by him. I think just the little bit that I've seen, I'm very interested in him.
He's got a lot of like shades of gray. Makes it sound like I do good things and I do bad things, but he really just looks at things and kind of goes, well, no, it's not actually that easy. It's not the fantasy game where here's the world of men and here's Sauron. It's like, well, no, actually, we're all just people and we're trying to figure our stuff out.
Yeah.
which is, I think kind of a breath of fresh air in the Dragon Age world.
Absolutely. Well, I think that's good enough, guys, for the Solus question. Sorry, I knew you wouldn't be able to answer that one, but I had to ask anyway because this one is almost a good closing question, but I do have a final closing question. This one's from Jordan Baldick, who's at ShanoJack on Twitter, and ShanoJack asks, what should we be most excited about in Dragon Age Inquisition? And that's a hard and very broad question, but...
Okay, so... that really is up to you. I can tell you what I'm most excited about.
Yes, let's hear it.
And really what I'm most excited about is walking off the roads. I'm most excited about setting a plot on my map and saying, I'm going to go do this thing, walking off the road, finding some herbs, seeing that there's an interesting looking statue off to my right, and ending up completely lost.
Yeah.
I am most excited about leaving the beaten trail and exploring this really, really big world and just finding so many things that the artists put in, that the writers put in, wandering around. My first playthrough will likely be Team YOLO. That's Iron Bull, Dorian, and Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah looks incredible.
They are a really, really fun group, and the three of them together are a ton of fun.
Okay.
And just wandering the wilderness for hours with them, and realizing I have forgotten what I'm supposed to do on the crit path, and I can do that whenever I want. I can always look at it; it'll always be there. But just realizing it's not. It's not something where it's oh my God, thousands of people are dying and I have to go do this and there's nothing else to do. It's no, we've given you a game and we're encouraging you to just go have fun.
I love that. Yeah, I
just
love
go
that.
Explore
and
hang with your friends and have fun with it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great answer. I'm going to do just that. I love those vast games and being able to just kind of sit there and almost not do nothing, but just not exactly having this dire circumstance.
Yeah, it's
that
just
I have to...
here's the thing that happens next, and that's one of the things I love. I love that when I play Skyrim. I love that when I play a lot of different games, and just the thing that I think we do really well is we let you do that with with your party of people that you hopefully start caring about.
Awesome. This one is a kind of a funny one, but it's from Robert McKenzie, who's the Geek Commissar on Twitter.
Hey, dude.
And Robert asks, when are we going to get a musical interlude in the series? Or is there a musical interlude in the series?
I think you need to keep asking Mark Dara and Mike Laidlaw that valuable question.
Special DLC, perhaps.
Because we can't confirm anything, but Mike has at some point said, okay, writers,
ooh,
if this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens, someday you guys may be able to do the musical.
Oh, exciting
and that
stuff.
Yes, that is in no way ever confirmed, even remotely, but...
Other sites will still put it up.
Mike just keeps dangling it out as this, all right, writers, fight. Do you want the musical? Okay, then shut up and
let's do it. Right. Well, awesome. Well, hopefully when we're allowed to talk about more after the game, after embargoes are lifted and such, we'll have you back on.
Absolutely.
We'll talk about it at length and we'll hang out and talk about more stuff. Where can people find you on social media right now, Patrick?
So on Twitter, I'm just my name, Patrick Weeks, and it's got more E's than you think. Weekes.
Cool.
It's the Welsh. They just add vowels and then take them away from other words.
Awesome.
And that's the main one I'm on these days.
Excellent. And make sure that if you have not picked up Masked Empire, you pick up Masked Empire because you'll learn a lot about a lot of these characters. And I hear that a lot of characters from Masked Empire will be popping up in Inquisition. So you want to know things.
Yeah. If you are interested in Inquisition, then Asunder and Masked Empire are the two books that I think lead into it really, really well.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Patrick. It was great to see you, and
enjoy
the rest of your con.
Thank you so much.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to our chat with Patrick Weeks. We'll be back with lots of episodes, so make sure that you subscribe, and you can find us on Twitter, and that is @nerdappropriate. You can email us directly. That is Ash, Matt, and Scott at nerdappropriate.com. And you can find us on Facebook as well, and that is /nerdappropriate on Facebook. Later, guys.